arrest warrants.
Yeah.
The International Criminal Court for war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
And we're diving deep into it all today. So
yeah.
The ICC issued these warrants.
Right.
For some pretty major players in the Gaza conflict. We're talking about Benjamin Netanyahu,
Yes.
the Israeli prime minister, Yoav Gallant, the former defense minister,
Right.
and Beluga,
Whoa, boy.
Mohammed Deif,
A major...
Hamas leader.
Yes. A major figure.
These are, I mean, huge names.
Absolutely.
And to make it even more complicated,
Yeah.
you know, Israel and the U.S., they don't even recognize the ICC's authority.
Right, right. They've always had issues with the court's reach. So this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think interesting is putting it mildly. It's like international legal chess.
Yeah, you could say that. High stakes for sure.
Okay, so let's start, at the beginning.
Okay, sure.
What exactly
Yeah.
are Netanyahu and Gallant being accused of?
So.
The warrants. They specifically say that.
Yeah.
That they used starvation as like a weapon of war.
Starvation.
Yeah. And that they targeted mental facilities on purpose.
Wow.
Yeah, these actions, I mean, if they're proven, they're direct violations of international law. They're war crimes.
Okay. I think we need to define some terms here.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
For our listeners who, might not be totally familiar with all the nuances of international law.
Sure.
Exactly. Is a war crime.
So a war crime is basically a serious breach of the rules of war.
Rules of war.
Like there's a whole set of rules that govern how wars are fought. It sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Right, yeah.
That there would be rules for war.
War is chaos.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But there are, to try and protect people.
Yeah.
And limit the awfulness as much as you can.
Okay.
So things like deliberately targeting civilians, that's a war crime.
Yeah.
Torture, war crime. Using banned weapons, war crime. So what about a crime against humanity? Is that just a really, really bad war crime?
It's actually different. Crimes against humanity are even more serious. It's not just about breaking the rules of war. It's about widespread or systematic attacks against any civilian population.
So it doesn't even have to be during a war.
No, it can happen anytime, war or peacetime. It's about actions that are so horrific, so fundamentally wrong that they literally shock the conscience of humanity. Genocide, enslavement, torture, deportation, murder.
Right.
All on a mass scale. That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Okay, so in this case, the ICC is basically saying that by doing these things, the starvation thing, the attacking hospitals thing, Netanyahu and Gallant crossed that line.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. Israel doesn't recognize the ICC. So what's going to happen? Will they actually be arrested?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Realistically, probably not. At least not right away, see? The ICC, they rely on cooperation from member states.
To actually make the arrest.
To enforce anything, really. And Israel, they're pretty opposed to the ICC getting involved at all.
So they're not going to be handing them over anytime soon?
Probably not.
So then what? Are these warrants just symbolic?
Not necessarily. I mean, they do make Netanyahu and Gallant international fugitives, in the eyes of the ICC at least.
Okay.
So, it might restrict their travel. A lot of countries that do recognize the ICC, they might not want to let them in.
Because they could be arrested?
Yeah. Or they might worry about, diplomatic fallout or legal challenges.
Makes sense.
Plus, there's the whole reputation thing. I mean, having a warrant out for your arrest from the ICC for war crimes, that's not exactly a good look.
Right. It kind of puts a damper on your international diplomacy.
To say the least, yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about what this means for these individuals. But what about the bigger picture? What does this mean for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Yeah, that's the real question.
Yeah.
And it's complicated. Some people think this could actually hurt the peace process.
Hurt it?
Well, it could harden positions on both sides. People might dig in their heels even more, see it as an outside force interfering, fuel the resentment.
I can see that.
Yeah. But there's another side to it, too.
Which is?
Well, some people argue that holding individuals accountable, no matter who they are, is actually essential for peace, for any kind of lasting peace. Because if people feel like the wrongs of the past are just ignored, swept under the rug, then the cycle of violence, it just keeps going.
You can't move forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need that sense of justice, of accountability to really start to heal, to build a future that's...
Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it really is. A really sharp one.
On one hand, you've got potential escalation.
Right.
But on the other, maybe it's a step towards a more future.
Possibly. It's too early to tell, really.
Well, what's clear is that this whole thing, this whole case, it really highlights just how tangled up international justice can be.
Oh, yeah. It's a mess. In the best of times.
Yeah,
and these aren't exactly the best of times.
Nope. Okay, so after all of this, after diving deep into these warrants, the ICC, Israel, Palestine, we're left with a question for everyone listening.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for international justice? If a court's decisions are almost impossible to enforce, does that mean it's powerless? Or, by even trying, at least taking a stand, is it setting a precedent for future action?
That's a question for the ages, isn't it?
It really is. What do you think? Let us know.
Yeah, weigh in.
We want to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back next week with another one.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.